If you have an advanced degree or strong professional experience, you could qualify for the US EB2 National Interest Waiver. It is a green card pathway that does not require a job offer or employer sponsorship. Your application is based on your skills, experience, and the impact of your work. If your work creates meaningful impact and helps solve real-world problems, you may qualify. The International Scholars Program can guide you through the process. Visit the website and download the EB2 NIW Handbook for more information.
It is August, the year of our Lord 2026, and every Saturday, 7:30 p.m., you know the drill. I'm usually here in the amazing and very insightful company of none other than the Executive Director, Siasa Place, the first of her name, Nerima Wako. Good to see you yet again.
Good to see you.
You are doing well?
I am.
Happy birthday, you are growing old. My baker
That's why
failed.
you are laughing, because I'm like, what are you planning?
No. My baker failed me. I had given her a deadline of today morning. She tells me the cake is almost ready, but not yet.
Thank you. You know, August is the season where kings and queens are born.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. We're the only star where the sun revolves around us. The rest of you revolve around the sun.
Even us December babies born with Christ, weeks apart.
But then that's not a true birthday. Christ was not really born in December. Anyways.
My bishop must be disappointed.
Richie, we choose that as a holiday. It's actually a business venture so that people shop during the holidays because it's actually a Western idea.
You sound like an artist now.
But he was born around March, but I digress.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because we don't even follow the correct calendar. It's the Ethiopian calendar. The oldest Bible is the Ethiopian. But anyway, that's a whole other...
How do you feel though? 40 is now near. Are you scared?
I'm not scared. I'm happy because actually seeing 40, I think it's actually not as simple as it used to be in the past. We see a lot of people going mapema.
Oh yeah, sadly.
Yeah,
sadly.
we do.
Sadly.
We're seeing a lot more people going way younger. Some people before their parents, you know. So
parents burying their children.
Actually, Ademba, the message he sent me for my birthday is, he said, the 4th floor is knocking. Are you going to open the door?
Oh,
like, how do Gen
or bid us by?
Why can't Gen Zs just say happy birthday? Why can't you just say happy birthday? Why are you like, you're getting old?
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, no, it feels good. Yeah.
The secret though, you are aging gracefully, and some say, hey, Nerima looks like a 22-year-old USIU student.
I know. I'm still not taken seriously in many spaces. My own son, on my birthday, he stood next to me and he's 5. And he's like, I'm almost taller than you.
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm like, yeah. Because I guess in my family, I'm the one who didn't get the height gene. Everyone else, wanafika karibu na 6 feet. So, and we all look young. In fact, we all look young. That's the gene I'm so grateful for.
But that was compensated by brains longer than that of others.
Yeah. That's true. But it's good to continue to feel young, be energetic, and to have good health. And friends. I'm really grateful for that.
Talking about good health, Nerima, I feel you should now be a satisfied woman leader in this country, because the president the other day held the health summit, and there he strongly defended SHA and talked about these are game changer when it comes to health reforms and just providing affordable and accessible healthcare to Kenyans. Do you feel like he was just out to defend this reform from his government, or indeed he was speaking facts which the opposition and maybe minds like Nerima are blurry to?
Let me be honest with you, Richie. I didn't watch that summit. I only watched snippets of it. I struggled a bit. There were just some stories that were not making sense to me. It felt like you want to be transparent, and then a lot of it felt like PR. So I was not sure where we were.
Dr. Kikonyo was called live on air.
Oh my gosh.
A number of people were called live on air to testify.
It just felt like you're being put on the spotlight. I feel, if someone wanted to participate, see, they come. Why are you forcing participation? You say you want people to participate, then guys are like, I don't want to. I will force you.
You pick a call. Hello, it's Mr. President.
President. It's so much pressure. Even me, I was like, and then, there was like
a young lady when she was explaining her experience with giving birth. First of all, that baby, I can tell you, is not beyond 6 months. But the fact that she couldn't remember which hospital, I was like, okay, so there's a mommy brain, and then there's, is there a script? You know, because she kept looking to the side.
You are losing the script.
I'm like, what am I watching? You know, what am I watching? So, wow, that was hard for me to watch. So I didn't. So I have no idea what.
But aren't you happy the president is embracing a national conversation kind of setup?
I
Something you're vouching for.
I am.
Much as Kiro talked about, he stole that idea from Nerima Wako. Are you happy he's now running with your thunder for the greater good of Kenyans?
You see, when an idea, there's someone who told me, ideas are not, what is the monopolies. So, fine, take the idea, but the way you're running it, I'm just like, hey, that's not the way the idea was supposed to be run, but it is well. Let me see what you can do with it. I think the aspect of having him at the center, I was like, what's the point? Because a lot of the questions seemed to be directed to, can someone, answer on this, answer on that? It wasn't him directly, and I get it because health is devolved. So why is he at the center? I feel it should have been a question period for members within the ministry to actually give their invites or their insights and a scorecard, as far as we've performed, this is how I felt they went to the granular of things, which is great, but there needs to be also a broader aspect, in the number of counties, because health is devolved. We've increased the number of level 4 hospitals. We've increased the number of, machinery that's now working because they have access to power. And like, give me the big and then give me the small.
The micro.
Like, yes, the micro of how it has benefited so and so. I think the big focused on money, not necessarily like equipment, the things that's, tangible to us. I would say that also him being, in the center of this stage of this like panorama sort of, it was almost like what we see in the States a lot, where presidential candidates sit in the middle of a town hall to give this essence of I am approachable. Actually, where the stage was, he was at the, I did political science. So everything we see politicians do, there's a math and a science to it. It's not, people thought through the arrangement. So even when you look at how it was set up, he's at the ground floor.
True.
Everyone else is sitting around him and higher up. That's a signal of I am down to the people. I want to listen to the people. The surrounding is I feel safe among the people. It's I want to be transparent to the people, and having that stool in the middle, and the papers to be writing and listening. It's such an American way to do politics. Yes, and it's interesting to see how it's going to play out, because the team is now saying, look here, you have to speak to the issues. You've been saying too long that opposition have no plan. They have no plans. Sasa plan yao ni nini? Wanasema tu one term, plan ni nini?
Shy work.
Shy work. Nini I work, bas plan yako ni gani? So now he's like, okay, let me show you how I speak to the issues, So he is setting agenda. He's like, so I will set agenda. These are the issues. The first one I want to start on is health. And so I believe he was hoping for alternative to come back and say, this and this that you said on health is false, but they're still stuck in their one-term chance. But you can see him pushing to change the narrative toward issues.
Nerima, these conversations that the president started having are to feed into the bigger picture that he harbors, that is Vision 2060. And on 12th August, you and I were treated to some insightful, remarks from people like Professor Hiroyuki, invited to just sell us a snippet of how Singapore got to where it got. And the president really said they first had a national convention of where they want to go as Singapore. Do you feel like that gaslighting sort of, or being sold this kind of hope was welcome? Did you welcome it personally as Nerima, the Vision 2060?
Do I welcome it? So, you know, the last time we had a conversation, I said, it just felt like 2030 was just dropped, you know? And then later we begin to hear Vision 2030 sharing that we've done 88% well in political pillar, in the social pillar, in the economy pillar, we've done like 55%, just, you know, below 60. So they began to now produce these results. And I feel like the results came in very rushed because people are like 2060. What happened to 2030?
Yeah.
Oh, let me let it pass.
Yeah, sure.
I'm learning.
I know. Good student.
You are supposed to signal.
Most improved student.
You're supposed to say stop.
Yeah. With a smile. Most improved student.
Yeah. So, you know, a lot of people are like, where did 2060 come from when we still had a 2030? So I feel like those results came in very hurriedly. And in a sense, we should be able to audit those results as well. Like what we've talked about, like the granular, like what difference did it make to me as a citizen because of Vision 2030? How is this linked to Vision 2030?
The president, sorry to cut you short, the president signaled that it is Uhuru Kenyatta and his administration which took it to the pits because he said he was sidelined in that administration. So he had to wait for his time.
But you have to pick a struggle because you can't say that you are sidelined and then something like the housing is an agenda that came from the previous administration. So you're here glorifying your housing projects as though it is your grand idea only. And we know that the Big Four agenda that you had in that previous administration included housing. So you can't, you know, have the entire cake, like pick a side. So if you're going to criticize the entire document, criticize the stadiums. Because you're also the one who was in the Big Four agenda and the stadiums was a big plan within the agenda.
Kamarini Stadium.
So, I mean, so for me, I feel it's complete double speak. And this is how a lot of outcomes are politicized. People tend to forget where certain development agendas came from. But to go back to your question in terms of the Agenda 2060, you know, Somalia has an Agenda 2060. They actually launched theirs 2 years ago. I don't think it's an original idea. We saw Tanzania recently, you know, launching their own Agenda 2050. I feel, you know, when we think of future, and I can even bring it to the basics in terms of my own organization and having a strategic plan. We think of the now and how we want to go to that future that we envision. I feel we tend to forget the now because we have so many, from the BBI to the 9-point agenda to NADCO to the, you know, we have all of these steps of documents that speak to a future, but somehow they seem to disconnect themselves from the overall vision every time we have presidents come in with these grander visions. So as we are comparing ourselves to Singapore, there's an essence of an ethos. You know, you have to prepare the population for what you're going to build. You don't just, you know...
This is how this marriage is going to look like. It won't be rosy from day one.
You know, it'll be
cheating here and there.
We must sacrifice some things. There'll be temptations. Sometimes we have to forgive each other. I mean...
Ignore the neighbors.
I know. Turn that conversation around. Ignore family members. Don't involve them in all your issues. You know, unaenda counseling.
Premarital classes.
And you don't take those things seriously. And it's the same as also a child. Unajua watu hawasemi, wanasema, watoi by the way ni expensive. You're thinking of diapers. You're not thinking about the other element of raising a child, like they're not sleeping, they're constant worrying. Are they sick? Are they meeting their milestones? Shule akwaje? Mwalimu akwaje na yeye?
Mental health.
There's so many other things around raising a child that we only think, lakini, your formula ni expert. Diapers ni expert. You're like, no.
Baiskeli imepanda bei.
Unaona? There are other things that are linked toward that child. I would say the same for a vision for Kenya. Because you're talking about a population that's majority young. For me, what I saw was 4 old men. 4 old men discussing a future or building a future, I saw some interventions from children, which they said amazing things, which was great. They tried to get different sectors. But how can you have a panel of such brief minutes to discuss things and people look like they have been forced to sit there? You know, you have been forced to sit through it. Pay attention, the people are speaking.
Yeah.
And there wasn't an element of the voices coming from the people. It could have been something like, Kenyans, you're being given an opportunity, go discuss with your families and the church and schools, and 3 weeks from now, we're going to have a national convening, and give us the steps of how to be part of that national convening. Have representatives who are nominated to represent groups of people, and a group can be as small as 5,000 people represented to have a delegate sent to the summit. I have thought of that idea in 10 minutes, less than that.
True.
And I'm just like, really? You have an entire team, and it was, let's just select people quickly. We have this summit quickly. It felt like it was really top down rather than bottom up, which is something that they came into power with, which is amusing. And it also felt like it's one of the rarest opportunities to have regular citizens speak to the president and he listens. That's where we should have seen the most average mwananchi hapo kwa platform akiongea, speaking their heart. Not necessarily people who are considered experts in their fields, which
Kenya loves experts.
we love them. That's what I'm saying. They're important. We love them. But we seem to put them on a very high pedestal sometimes. Yet, the determinant of elections are the grassroots.
The people.
Yeah. And so for me, having that ethos within us where, are we even ready to build a country? Because even when you engage with young people, many of them are trying to find a way out of this country for opportunity.
Really?
Yeah, because this country doesn't love them. How has this country shown that it loves its young people? How? Education.
Free education.
That's what I'm saying.
Transition to secondary school for all children.
Even we know there are some who are still stuck in this limbo. There's even a friend of mine who was sharing how they know of a student, an orphan, who has registered to do their exams to enter now year 9, but they are not a member of that school because they can't afford it.
What?
But they're smart, but they have the number. And now the school, I guess, is asking for school fees, but they haven't been attending school. They just go and pay for the exam. And I'm like, how is this happening? But this is a story of one. I'm sure if we dig deeper in terms of even the transfer of students, there are many who never did. There are many who are struggling to. There are many who have found these two shortcuts where your child is registered in a school, but they are not in school. They just come for exam day. Na unalipa tu exam. Na anapita.
But I feel there's more doom when it comes to the education sector, because the other day the government just acknowledged the experience in failures with the university funding model, and they talked about we need to go back to the drawing board and rethink of this thing. Remember, initially people like Nerime and Gachagua said, you're just fighting this new reform when it comes to university funding. Are we looking at a government playing trial and error with the lives of Kenyans? And now you're talking that all these talks are more stage managed. Is it just a game of musical chairs, just a circus in play at the end of the day for political convenience?
Yes. And you see, the thing is, government is large. People are like, who is government? Government are the various offices. It's the civil servants. It's the public servants. There are so many other dynamics that create governance. And a lot of times when we think government, we see the political leaders only. But a lot of these roadshow declarations have caused such a havoc within, even counties, because things change so quickly without even having a transition toward that change. And so for me, even as we're here discussing Vision 2060, and why I'm saying what is the ethos, what is our, how are we receiving it? It's something that needs to be understood to the granular, where even a child in school is like, yes, us, we are working hard because we're building this nation. And building this nation is going to take another 30 years to do.
Yeah.
And I have a role to play in it. We don't have that. We don't even have that same attitude with the Constitution. You barely interact with it. So, like, my whole issue with SHA isn't that SHA shouldn't exist or SHA was brought about because it was brought about by Ruto. No, it's just how it was done. It was like you just wake up and it's done. NHIF, you know, there are so many patients who struggled between that transfer. In fact, some passed on because they were relying on things on NHIF because of things like blood transfusions, because of kidney failure. Just that transition was difficult. Some of them had to pay out of pocket. Some of them couldn't afford. Some of them honestly died in that transition. And there were offices within NHIF which remained functioning. People were still receiving salaries. We are even seeing how accounts just changed abruptly. You stop paying here, you're now paying here. That confusion. People afraid to deal with SHA in the beginning because payments were not being made. So, you know, when you have a population that is still living highly below the poverty line or $1 a day, they must rely on the people who can afford to pay for insurance. But it becomes extremely difficult when it's a very small amount of the population that's paying the brunt of how much is needed. You continue to strain a population that's already strained. And so the way SHA was rolled out is it's not understood that it's for you. It's for your benefit. It's an investment because you're going to need to have access to a doctor eventually. We pray not, but all of us do because our bodies get old and they wear and tear.
True.
So when the Kenyan citizen doesn't understand why SHA is essential and why even making these contributions, it would be what contribution can I make? Even the varying scales of what people can afford based on where they are. I mean, that was not even, you know, interrogated and looked into because not everybody can afford 500 bob.
True.
Yeah.
However little it may sound.
Yes. Not everybody can. You know, you're talking about villages where people have even up to 12. Some of them you ask them, how many children do you have? Hata hawajui. I'm like, hizo ndo najua ni wako hapa.
Ndio najua.
Ndo najua.
Who is your fourth born? I think she called Nerima.
Anaitwa nani? Anakaanga hapa.
But that's the reality, the sad reality.
Yeah. Yeah.
It begs the question, you're talking about this desperation most Kenyans are shackled to. And I want to understand that this desperation is what hooks them to anything that comes by. Should it be a gun for hire for a day, I'm up to the task. Let's revisit events in Homa Bay last weekend when Linda Mwananchi made their way there in. Some would say, what's the agenda of you going to Homa Bay at night? Number one, question number one. Number two, you are coming to this county and saying it's dusty and everything, but we've always been marginalized. That's a section of the political class from Homa Bay and the larger Luo Nyanza. First, what's your reaction to the events that happened in Homa Bay, the gun side of it and also the development side of it? Do you feel the Kenyan political class have a way of weaponizing marginalization to just whip up emotions?
So I'm glad that it's exposing how parts of Kenya look like. You know me.
Yeah, man.
Actually, you know, there are things you see every day that you don't realize, Allah, kumbe, this is shocking. And I say this because that's a typical Western village. Yeah.
Matayo suko ndani.
Yeah. Yeah, hata mimi niko karibu na barabara na bado iko na vumbi. And by the way, we were promised tarmac road. We were promised.
Mulitengewa barabara?
Hapana, bado. Walikuja na matractors wakaweka hapo kwa stamp, walisema watatengeneza hii barabara, but walifanya 1 kilometer. I'm still seeing if it will be completed.
Unangoja barabara?
Tunangoja barabara.
Send your leaders to State House for a visit to get development.
Na hamu na gamu. But to be honest with you, me, there's a time I traveled to Siaya in Ugenya. And I was like, wow, watu wanaishi interior.
Baba's backyard?
Richie, I don't think you... Richie, have you traveled inside Western? Like
you need to be tagging along, not yet.
Richie, not yet?
Not yet.
Hey?
I've only been to Kilifi and Mazeras and the poverty is alarming.
Okay, but yeah, poverty is there. But you know, there are some places where, for real, wanatumia solar. For real. And that's because missionaries have come and hakuna stima. Like,
Yet we are hyping last mile connectivity.
Giza. And you're like, it's 2026. And people are living like this. But to go back, I digress. I feel like what we saw are comments from people who have never traveled to some parts of our country, which is good. Which is good because it showed exposure that for real, watu wakisema enyewe, sometimes being close to power is a privilege. Sometimes, not really power in terms of the presidency, power in terms of the closeness to Nairobi is a privilege. Yes, that, number one. Number two, the fact that the kind of dust that is a constant also in our villages. It is. It is.
A constant.
It is a constant. It's a constant. We were getting roads the other day under Uhuru. Yes, let's speak the truth. We're getting roads the other day. And this is the 2000s and something. So for me, it actually brought to light, yes, when you see people saying that, you know, there are parts of Kenya which are underdeveloped, that are not receiving, you know, the resources that it should. You know, that whole conversation we would have, you know, 1 shilling, 1 vote. You're just like, guys, you know, there are communities in our country that genuinely, even access to education, the houses, okay?
Mad houses.
Mad houses. Yeah.
Disappointing.
Mad houses.
The place of dignity in human living, come on.
Yeah, but that's a regular. That's a regular.
Especially in Western Kenya.
Yeah, that's a regular for us. So it just brought, you know, to the fore just how uneven our country is and how seriously we have to take development when we say, you know, equal, devolved distribution of resources. I feel it actually brought out a more deeper conversation that enyewe, there are counties and communities that are more privileged than others. I think it brought about the conversation on inequality and questioning whether leadership really does matter, because it's not that those regions have not had leadership. They've had people in power. But then even if you have that one person in power, can they really bring much of a difference to your community? Or should it be a bigger question? How much goes toward the counties and how much is actually utilized to develop the counties?
Good question.
Yeah. So it's about county function, its sufficiency, and access to budget allocation, which has to do with a lot of people, not just one person, because it's one governor. We should be worried when we equate development to how close you are to the president. And you know, I've said here, you know, multiple times that the Constitution was something that we hoped we could get away from that.
Yeah.
Because what you will get eventually is a leader who doesn't have a team. Everyone just wants to make sure that they please the leader because they are afraid. There are so many people afraid out here to share their political stance because they're afraid they won't get budgets for their counties.
They're sitting on the fence.
They're sitting on the fence.
Or they have made a decision.
They've made a decision. They've just chosen not to be vocal about that decision. There are people who know as soon as they take a political stance that they are not going to get funding for their counties.
Contractor anatolewa kwa site.
Inatolewa kwa site. Haraka sana.
Hiyo barabara isimamia hapo.
Inasimama. In fact, wanajua biashara zote unafanya hapo. Sometimes wanakupigia simu na kuambia, "Oh, umeanza. Najua hiyo biashara ulikuwa unataka kuanzisha hapo na hapo na hapo."
EACC DCI.
So when you have people who are walking on eggshells because of power, that's not what devolved function is. Devolved function is actually about accountability. Accountability to the point where, if necessary, the people can take their power back and say, as a leader, you're not leading us in the right direction. But it was such a shame to see the kind of violence and planning for violence. From early in the morning to stones on the road to have a blockade, stopping
using boats to navigate the terrain.
What are you so afraid of? What are you so afraid of? If someone is bringing no competition to you, si unamwacha. Sasa unasumbua nani kwa nani? You know.
Silence in Sifuna.
I mean, yeah. So for me, it's everybody does have the right to travel wherever they want in this nation as long as they are citizen. And it is showing political intolerance. And the fact that there has been silence from the security agencies, you're like, hala, Kwani were the only ones seeing that this has happened. Like, you don't want to own up to what measures are being taken, you know, what repercussions. And I believe it was the Standard who had shown on the front cover, you know, a goon and just being like, what is,
Abdi.
what is this? You know, what country is this? So it's a growing concern because when goons begin to feel entitled, like, even nothing will happen to us, we're close to
Tukomboka.
power. Yeah. You begin to have a sense of fear because it's a real fear, not only a feeling. Because that means even as you step out, you can simply be robbed.
True.
Simply be robbed. But if people are going to be arrested after robbing you and someone high up calls and says, mwache yule ni mtu wangu.
Mobilizer wangu.
Mobilizers. Mwache ako tu sawa. Then tell me, it becomes very fuzzy when the rule of law and rule by law. Because clearly, they use laws on people that are not on their side. But when it comes to them,
Selective application.
it is selective. As soon as we start to play that game, the law can only be as strong as the people's belief in that law. As soon as people stop believing in it, the same way money is just a piece of paper. It's a piece of paper that we believe has value.
True.
Yeah, systems have been structured.
Legal tender.
Yes, to make us say, this paper, it is paper.
Yeah.
This paper is valuable. Because it has been printed this way with these colors, we put value on this paper. It is the same with the law. It's the same with the law. It's invisible. Can you see the law? You can't. So we only apply power and effect to the law when we believe in the law, when we follow the law. When you're told, oh, do not steal, you can go to jail for that. Okay, because now when I steal, I'm finding myself, I've been arrested. Higher, there's a court. Higher, I'm serving in jail. We have believed. But now, if there's no one paying for stealing, for killing, because you've been paid by someone high up, so why would I care? It's very easy. You have bravado.
Or judiciary acquits you at some point.
Yes.
There wasn't sufficient evidence.
Yeah. So you become very brave. You're like, anyways, I'm protected. There's nothing which can bind me. That's why you see so much confidence in those goons, in some of that footage, where they're like, tutawapanga. Because they're like, there's no fear to even hide their faces. They were not even wearing masks.
Yeah.
They were not even wearing balaclavas. They were not talking in the dark. These are people who can be easily identified.
Some live on TikTok.
Live. Yani, you can trace them. So as soon as goons start to feel that brave, we should worry. Because they already know in their head, I'm getting away with it.
Nerima, I mean, ideally, we raised in traditional African societies believe that elders should be the epitome of wisdom. And anytime a father sees a son going wrong, they call them to order. You'd expect that is Luo Nyanza. That is the backyard of Oburu Odinga. In this broad-based arrangement, he passes for the eldest, and you expect him to espouse the most wisdom. But he's been mute on just calling out these goons as now the party leader of ODM. And we are seeing this goonism really take deep roots in that region. Do you feel Oburu is failing us on this?
Yes, I do, because you can have completely different political views, but you don't have to purport or support violence. You don't. And I mean, sometimes I wonder if Rao was around, you know, even if he was on broad-based side, I don't think in terms of even people losing their fingers, people being, somebody died. Somebody died. And as much as people have passed on, like Baby Pendo during protests and things like that.
Baby Njoki.
Yes, there's always this element of being vocal against the deaths. People can argue that, oh, he didn't support the families, some he did, But being vocal against deaths is something that he always did. And the fact that Oburu is silent, even when it's people who you don't agree with, that just shows you we're in a completely different dispensation in Kenya.
At times like this, you miss Raila?
Yeah, I do. Because there was a sense of sanity that had some form of, no, we're not going to get to the point of actually planning to hack each other, planning to take each other's lives, you know.
Raila utet jeshi ya baba, hapa hamtapita.
Yeah. And many people would disagree, but that's one thing once we start going for each other's blood, it's downhill from here. Because what I'm worried about is the kind of names now we start calling each other. And, you know, studies have shown humanity to be able to hurt somebody. You don't see them as being human like you. You name them something else to dehumanize them so that it's easier for you to hurt them. So that's why even in history, if you see populations who have been attacked because of their race or gender, or it's always there's a nickname for them.
Yeah.
You know, for Rwanda, we know the most common was cockroaches. And that's how it got into the minds of people that we are fighting people who are not human. And so for us even realize that a lot of these goons do this when they are not sober. A lot of them are high. They have taken substances. They're not sober. Because human nature, it's very difficult for you just to be violent. Like someone has told you, be violent, hurt this person. No, they
Take
have
out a life.
Yeah, they have to take something to be able to do that. And then you have to have been given enough propaganda to believe that you're doing it to protect
the community
from these creatures, these monsters,
these entitled Kikuyus or Luyas or Nandis.
Yes. And that for me is where we are really entering a danger zone. And then, you know, I was speaking somewhere else and I was saying, normally, so my background, I have a minor in emergency management. And we had gone through this course where when you're dealing with emergencies, you should understand the level of emergency you're dealing with, right? So they are even color-coded in the States, right? From amber to red. And I've seen this also in India in regards to air quality. So every time when you go out and you check the quality of air, you're able to see, is it safe for me to breathe? If it's not, I need to come out with a mask. Preparedness. So I really wonder for our departments and institutions that deal with conflict, what is their radar? And how do we know what sort of level we are in as a country? So, you know, it can start from as low as the speech, you know, monitoring social media platforms, monitoring radio, monitoring TV conversations, and looking at comments. How are people relating to issues or saying things? And as soon as you start to begin to see nicknames, you know, people are calling people, you know, for us, we've known Madoadoa.
Yeah.
People start calling
Kwekwe.
people, other things. And then, you know, contexts. So that's called a lexicon, where now you put all these terminologies that people are using to refer to other people in a derogatory way. And then it becomes difficult to trace because it evolves, it changes. We're constantly seeing the way people give new nicknames. And so when you're like, okay, so when it gets here, you start to see, we had women, so there was someone who was killed, thrown acid, was it?
Yeah.
Because of the tattoo.
The tattoo.
So now we begin to see ideas, you know, where people have commented on, hata huyu anafaa kufe. But now you see it being actualized. Now someone actually goes. And then you have another. And then now there are more. And then, so there should be ranges of where the country is now. And I'm curious to know where they rate us now. Because from my experience, we've surpassed amber, we've surpassed orange, we're in red. Yeah.
That's danger.
Yeah, considering that we have 11 months
to the election.
Yeah, we are in amber, we are in an orange, and it's a deep orange. because considering the timing to the election, where the conversations even become more, divisive, where now, communities start to align in terms of this is the political coalition I agree with, where now people say things you don't agree with and they start walking out on you.
Yeah.
There's no tolerance, where you're like, okay, let me hear you out. Sasa we ni nani? Like 2 term, no term, 1 term. You're not seeing people just having, drinks over it. It's like, kwenda huko.
Toka kwa hii meza. Wait arudisha huyu ni wa 2 term.
That normally happens. Like when voting day is like next month. Sasa tumeshafika na hatujafika Christmas. My friend.
Babe, when we are 2 term, this relationship is over.
It's over. I can't understand. We're not relating. So I'm just like, me, I'm seeing like we're in an amber, guys. To go orange. So I'm just like, what scenarios? Because they should have future scenarios of Kenya.
Yeah.
Like if everyone participates and IBC is transparent, they're communicating, that's a green. Everyone is happy, like before we vote.
NCIC is doing its job.
Doing their job, that's a green. But, we should have scenarios for every phase of where Kenya can be. But I don't know. I don't work in those institutions, but I hope, they are paying a keen eye in terms of how to bring us back closer to the green, rather than wait for it to get now to a blaring red, because now as emergency management specialists, that becomes, obviously a lot more difficult to deal with.
I know there's a Kenyan sitting there and saying it's high time we have people like Nerim at NCIC, because it's not enough to come and say we are going to look further into the comments of Kaluma and Kahushia.
Oh my goodness.
There is more this commission can do beyond just saying this or that on media presses.
Goodness. They're launching something.
Led by the Reverend.
Yes, yes. They're launching a roadmap to a violence-free 2027 general election on Tuesday. So I will go. And I said, hey, let me go. And
you should tag me along.
Yeah, come. Yes, I'll invite you. We go. Yeah. And I'll ask a lot of questions, but let us be optimistic. Let's see what kind of plan they have. But yes, come. Let's go on Tuesday.
Fantastic. But then again, Nerima, yes, you've talked about if we are not careful, we'll polarize this nation just before the election, and we'll see violence never seen before. And I think this is what informed the press led by Martha Karua and a section of the of the United Opposition Principals, and they were imploring the ICC to relook at the Kenyan situation and maybe now put clear lenses on activities around, from goonism to political intolerance. Do you share in this invite from Martha Karua that it's high time ICC now puts us on a microscope? Otherwise, these politicians will take the country to the grave.
I do, because, we can complain about the mechanisms that exist and how they don't support or do well for us. We can complain all we want, but when our institutions here, you have done all the reporting. By the way, even it's Vocal Africa that submitted the report on human rights to ICC. And we have actually, I've seen them try and do this with IPOA. I've seen them be very involved with the compensation committee in terms of even supporting the families of those who lost their loved ones during the protests. I've seen them use the avenues that are available to us within Kenya. But when you begin to see that there is no commitment or action going forward, you do have to look outside. And, that's why we have the African courts. That's why we have, commissions like the UN, or we have the ICC. And so it is very welcome, because sometimes we do these things not for us now, it's for future generations. That this is on record. There are people who spoke up when things were going awry. And that's why even some mechanisms like this, you can see cases of where, Patrice Lumumba, his family, actually getting some things in terms of repatriation, and it's through his grandchildren and children. So it's not generally just for us. It's even for the future of Kenya and the institutionalization of Kenya. And so I am in full agreement of it. Having it on record is important because people eventually pay. It might not be how we would envision, but people do pay. Generations do pay. People have these families, and sometimes even just rewarding history is important because there will come a time where we have to recollect, what happened in 2026, what happened in 2024. And this sort of history is hidden now. But eventually we will have the truth of how many people were actually lost, how many people were actually abducted, how many cases, and these are crimes against humanity. So people might argue like, oh, Suluhu, look, nothing has happened.
You guys want Ruto back at ICC, yet your son Uhuru is off the hook. That is the narrative.
It's the narrative, and you can see even where that narrative has come from, and it's to politicize everything's being done, but we're dealing with now. So for me, I agree with it, and I also believe that this is actually something that is going to become a pain. As much as people think, ICC, they won't do anything, this will actually be a stint or a stain on his reputation. Yes, it will. Because even remember, after Tanzania, there was discussion in the European Parliament to actually hold funding toward Tanzania. And it's sort of gone quiet. And some people are like, nothing happened. Let me tell you, for it to go quiet, it means there's a lot of backdoor diplomacy happening where governments are trying to negotiate and come to an agreement. Things that are announced in parliaments don't just disappear. No, it's not.
But our president seemingly is a darling of the West.
That's why I'm saying it will be a stain. So it will become extremely difficult when now you have a case within the ICC to be a darling. Like, even though it's pretentious, even though they pretend.
Ain't genuine love?
No, there's nothing like genuine. All countries have interests. We all understand that. But they still cannot do their business with individuals that are considered or have pending cases in criminal courts. And this is something where they also care about their own elections. See, these are also voted members.
True.
Yeah. So if their public is seeing, wait a minute, you're having business partnerships and loans with countries where it's my taxpayer money doing this, but this person is doing this to that country, I'm not in agreement with it. Politicians in Europe can actually lose popularity and funding because of it. And so I would say that it's going to actually be a stain for him, even though people are going to downplay it, nothing's going to happen, In reality, this is actually something that does end up having an effect in the kind of relationships you can have and the business ventures that you can dive into.
Finally, Nerima, and wonderful insights there. Well, many credit you to be this prophet of some sort from the political arena, governance issues, you name it. And now I want to understand if your discernment would come in handy for Kenyans who are at crossroads. Should we trust in Manyora and this new party, People's Party of Kenya? Should we trust this and that person going out there, starting a party, saying this is the party that will carry the vision and ambitions of Kenyans? Look, for Nyoro, Gachagua, DCP, and a section of the United Opposition say, you're not just a mole. You're not just a molar, you are the molest. and Nerima, I just want to understand, do you feel like it's a deliberate attempt to just curtail the ambitions of a young man wanting to lead Kenya, or indeed there could be an ounce of truth in this new arrangement that this is just a wheelbarrow in green colors?
So in politics, there's a lot of gray. Let me start there. Hakuna mtu mwenye ni this is the saint, this is the devil. Wote wanakaa hapa katikati. Kuna wengine wako karibu na saint na wengine karibu na shetani. But to be honest to you, they are all here. And so I need people to lower their expectations of everybody.
Come on, Sifuna supporters will kill you today.
Sifuna, of everybody. I am saying this from a genuine place. That's why I said, let's just start with everybody is great. Let's start there. So when we start that everybody is grey. So first of all, this People's Party, what are the colors? Is it People's Party, red and green? Ama is that to microphone, which looks like DCP colors? I'm so confused. Nigani? Which
microphone.
It's the microphone.
Skiza wa Kenya. The voice of the people. Yeah.
Na ni color?
Blue.
Ni blue?
Yeah.
Anyway, Citizen, it showed on Citizen like it's green. I was like, why are they making it look like DCP? So for me, will I defend him here? Like, I can sort of see. So one thing he has not said is that he's running for presidency in 2027. That's one thing he has not said, okay? So he has insinuated 2032. And the reason why I want to say that out clearly is because a lot of people are afraid of the playback of 92, okay? Where you have split votes, right?
Matiba and all.
Yes. And that's what people keep repeating. And that's why Gachagua actually went and held a rally in Muranga, which is where he's from. Yes. And it was large, just to show ata hapa una ground.
Ground ni yangu.
Ground ni yangu. My name Gachagua is just like, I don't even know.
Toxic X.
Akona energy. Like whatever he takes for energy, I need to know. Like, akona energy. So that's why, right?
I'll tag you along on my next visit to Manyora.
Yeah. I would love that. So even when you see how he has come back and said, where? But for me, I think about it this way. See, everyone, there's a time I was having a conversation with a taxi driver, and it was very interesting. And he was just like, Nerima sisi hatuko confused kama nyinyi. As we are like, someone who goes and speaks for our interest, we select. That's it. We go for one person, that's it. We go for one person, that's it. Ninyi waluya mko kila mahali. And I found that conversation interesting because, of course, he was leaning to the side of DCP.
Yeah.
But I started to think, what after DCP? Because there's no way, when you have everybody under your tent, it's great. It's a lot of unity. But you're still going to have disgruntled people. There are people who are going to want the ticket. They are not going to get it.
True.
There are going to be people who think they are as popular. There are going to be people who are actually quite close and popular, but there's always a number one and number two. And what are you going to do with those who are upset? They are going to jump into people's party. That's what's going to happen. So for me, what I'm seeing in that decision is who is going to pick up all these unhappy DCP people, because you're not going to please everybody. It is a fact. So he's creating a new space, because we are also seeing Jubilee struggling to survive.
True.
And Matiang'i trying to revive it, even though he's gotten some reprieve from his cases. I've even seen he has a task force, and it actually has young women, which is quite impressive. And you're seeing him struggling to revive Jubilee, because they also understand that sometimes it's good to have competition. Because now, look at where we are with zones that are owned by one political party. We began to see toward the end, let's talk about ODM.
True.
People rejecting the candidate that ODM has said is going to run in this county. We began to see that toward the end, especially with the last election with Azimio and the conversation around zoning. And this is also something that people need to recognize is we have a younger population that doesn't necessarily vote like, ati kila mtu kwa hii nyumba tunaenda hivi, sisi sote tunaenda hivi. No. You're dealing with people who also have their own opinions. And their own imaginations. So it is also appealing to others. So for me, I think he's speaking more of 2032. He is going to be considered a mole and looked at as a mole. But how many politicians have been looked at that way? Even Tuju. Even Tuju.
Moles.
Yeah. And then they turn around somehow. 10 years later, wako tu sawa. You know? I mean, that's what happens in our politics. So, I tell Kenyans, usiweke siasa kwa roho.
Kwa lungs too.
Kwa lungs. Kwa lungs. People are making very political decisions using mathematics. Wewe unatumia feelings. Wewe unatumia feelings.
Instead of scientific calculations.
Kitakuramba. Kitakuramba.
I know the pain.
I know. Kitakuramba. So that's what I would tell Kenyans. I just relax, just watch, If you identify with someone, good for you. Identify with them. But people's true colors always come out. And for me, I'm always happy to see competition. I am for competition. I am. Because I feel it's healthier. It brings about debate when it's done the right way. Criticism of ideas. Because now, if you have a monopoly of a party in areas, then that means that there's no room for alternative decisions and ideas in that area. And sometimes that's not the safest way to be able to live in a democratic society. So yeah, me, I'm like, have as many as possible. It's okay. If really they are your true supporters, see, they'll vote for you.
Yeah.
Si tuliona hivyo Olkalao.
Yeah.
UDA walikuwa hapo wakirandaranda, si walipigia kura nani?
Ground ndio kusema.
Ground ndio kusema. So let people go wherever they want. On voting day, you will see where people go. People will show you where
Kula kwa Nerima, kura kwa Richard.
Yeah, people will not split. If you really have the people, they will follow you. Yeah.
Good that you've implored Kenyans not to really put so much emotion to politics. And it just sends my mind back to some altercation that happened earlier this week on a televised interview at TV47. Pasaris versus Jane Kihara MP for Naivasha. And well, they were revisiting some political events, the 207 clashes. And you could clearly see Jane Kihara having harbored so much political emotions. And you as a woman leader, just on a light note, would you say that was so underwhelming? Now that you're imploring Kenyans, siasa wasiweke kwa roho.
What was impressive? Who was the other third lady on that panel?
An analyst.
Yeah, an analyst.
Yeah.
I wish I'm going to actually search for her name and who she was. Because she said, you're two of my older sisters. I view you as my older sisters, and I don't agree with how this conversation is going. Thank God there are still some sane Kenyans who are able to de-escalate when two people are not agreeing. And this country, if we're not careful, that's where the politicians are going to take us. And I'm not even looking at the situation as two women. I'm looking at the situation as political alignings and sides. Because we have seen even worse comments that we have not seen any repercussions. And to see that sort of anger televised, like I told you, and we're still
palpable.
1 year. Yeah, it's palpable. And we're still 1 year to the election. You can imagine what sort of build-up we'll have. So obviously I'll say it is a shame that it occurred on live TV, especially when there are a number of young people who look up to and watch. And such behavior, because of being political figures, you're held to a higher regard in terms of how you behave. But it should be the same for all leaders, not just because they are women, because we have seen men actually argue worse.
Salasi is watching.
We've
Fist
seen
bumps.
men argue worse, yes, on screen. So it's all of them to behave like adults. It's a shame when we're watching the screen and we're wondering who is older. Is it you or me? So big ups to the other analyst, who I will find her name, who tried to de-escalate the situation.
And Fred Indimuli, of course.
Yes.
Give him credit.
Why now? Why am I giving him credit?
Oh, really?
He put off the mics.
He tried at least.
The mics are off now. The mics are off. He could have gone on a break. Wait, quick standby. Anyways. And your friend.
Well, good point to wrap up this conversation. Very insightful insights from none other than the executive director, Siasa Place, Nerima Wako. I would have said Madam Nerima Wako, but she says that makes her sound so old. Nerima Wako, always a pleasure anytime we have you around.
Thank you.
We pray for longevity of life and
Amen.
abundance, blessings and graces in your new age.
Thank you.
Not 40 yet. I should make that clear. You're still young.
I'm still.
Ata meno ijemea. But then again, thank you so much, doing incredible work with Siasa Place. They are at Siasa Place across their social media handles.
Yes.
And you at Nerima W.
Yeah.
Doing fantastic work. These are you who wants to join Siasa Place or at least partner with them here and there. How do they go about it?
Through their website, which is still siasaplace.com. You can subscribe to our newsletter, but soon we'll be adding a tab for volunteers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That would be fantastic.
Soon. Yeah. By the end of this month.
Should you be from Turkana, Lodwar?
Yes.
You are invited.
Yes.
Fantastic. We do this again next week, Saturday, 7:30 p.m. For now, though, get us on our personal social media handles at Mwenje Richard, at Nerima W, at H Manyora, at the Nairobi Review KE. Give us your comments regarding this edition. Also share with us some of the insights you want us to drop in on the next conversation. For now, though, enjoy the rest of your viewing and continue praying for Nerima as she gets older alongside Oburu and others.
Hey, Oburu.